Welcome back for another installment of Kitchen Science here at the South Huntington Public Library. I am Miss Liz, one of your librarians here, and I am so excited that you decided to join me for this month's science experiment. This month, we are going to be looking at the phases of the moon. And what inspired this month's science program is that I don't know if any of you at home are like me, but I love looking up at the night sky and seeing all the stars and the bright moon and just how pretty it is out there. But then, after I do that a few nights, I notice the shape of the moon seems to be changing. And I wanted to know why that is and what's happening and what exactly is going on. So we are going to do some out-of-the-world experiments and crafts to kind of see what the phases of the moon are all about and to get a better idea of what's happening in that night sky. Now, this Kitchen Science is designed to be a grab and go, so if you registered at the South Huntington Public Library and came on down and got your kit, you're going to have a bag that looks very similar to this. This is going to have most of the items in here that you need. If you are just joining from home and didn't register or haven't gotten your kit yet, that's okay. You can still do some of these experiments with us. There are templates available on the calendar that have the phases of the moon chart that we're going to talk about. And also, you just need some Oreo cookies. So you can totally join along at home if you haven't gotten a grab and go bag yet. What you're also going to need that's not in this kit, so everybody has to grab it, are a pair of scissors. You're going to need something to color with, so markers or colored pencils or crayons, whatever you prefer. You're also going to need a spoon, and I recommend, but you don't need, a pencil so that when we start shading stuff in, you can do this first without using your crayons or your markers. Once you have all of those supplies assembled, it is time to get our experiment started. So the first thing to know about the moon is that even though it looks like it's changing shapes in that night sky, it actually isn't changing its shape at all. The moon is staying a circle the entire time, and it's how we see it that's what's affecting how it looks. So what's happening is that the moon is orbiting around the Earth, which means it's going in a circle, and the sun is reflecting off of that moon to create the shadows. So depending on where the moon is in the orbit, that changes how we see the moon because of where it is in relation to the sun. I know that sounds really confusing, so a good way to kind of see how this works is to take a flashlight, that's going to be your sun, and point it at a flat surface. So either at the table or at the wall, and that flat surface is going to be your Earth. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hold your hand over the flashlight, that's the moon, and you're going to check out the effects that this shadow has on your flat surface. You'll notice that as you move your hand to the left, it changes the shadow. If you move it to the right, it changes the shadow again. If you hold your whole hand over in front of the flashlight, you completely lose the shadow. And if you take your hand away, you see everything. So that is how the moon functions. And as the moon is orbiting the Earth, it takes exactly 1 month for it to complete its circle from start to finish. And during this 1 month orbit, what we see in the night sky is 8 different phases that we can look for. So the first experiment that we're going to do is going to be creating a moon chart. So what you're going to want to do in your grab and go bag, or if you printed it out at home, is you're going to find this phases of the moon paper that looks like this. And we're going to find our stickers that look like this. And we're going to create a moon chart that we can use at home to track the phases of the moon. So the first thing we're going to do with our phases of the moon chart is we're going to take our paper and we're going to fold it in half the long ways and have those corners meet corner to corner. So that it looks like this when we're done. Now what each of these circles is going to represent is the 8 phases of the moon. So if you want to count them down to make sure there's 8, that would be great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phases of the moon. Perfect. And now on your sticker sheet, we're going to go through the different phases so that you can make a chart that you can reference whenever you need. So some of your stickers may be already cut out, some of yours aren't, mine aren't. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut them out, just like this. Now make sure to keep the yellow wording and the blue wording together for right now, because that wording goes with what moon phase that is. So we're going to start out with the new moon. All right. So our new moon is the first moon of the month. And what this means is it is completely dark in the sky. You're not going to be able to see anything out there, just the stars, but the moon will almost appear like it's non-existent. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors next and cut this line out. And we're going to put this in the inside of our book where there's all these lines. So you're going to put new moon on the left side like this. And then we're going to put the definition of what the new moon is, which is completely dark, on this side. Now this, on the front of your phases of the moon chart, what you're going to do is you're going to make this a completely dark moon. So using whatever crayons, colored pencils, or markers you want, you're going to shade in the entire circle to imply that it's dark. And that's moon phase number 1. Now we're going to take our sticker sheet and do that again with the second moon phase, which is a waxing crescent. And if you're curious to know why they call it a waxing crescent moon, don't worry, I'm going to tell you. So waxing actually means growing or an increasing of illumination on a surface. So if it is a waxing crescent, that means it's getting brighter because we're going from dark, totally completely black, to a little bit more color. So a waxing crescent moon is a very small part of the right side of the moon is lit while the rest is completely dark. So we're growing in light, but it's still just a teeny tiny sliver. So we're going to cut that out. We're going to put this on here. We're going to put our definition on the other side. And now we're going to color our waxing crescent part of the moon. So if you want, this is where the pencil comes in handy. You can draw out that little sliver before you color it. That way, if you don't like it, you can change it. Or if you want to go ham and just color it all in, that's totally fine. But I like to sketch it out first and then color in the rest of my moon. So now I have a full moon, which is completely black, to my waxing crescent that is mostly darkened, but I have this nice little sliver crescent right there that kind of looks like a smile, right? Perfect. Then we're going to take our sticker sheet and do our next sticker, and that is the first quarter moon. You're going to find that one and either peel it off if yours are already cut out, or if they aren't, you're going to cut it out. We're going to cut along that line to make it 2 different pieces. And now what the first quarter moon is now the right half of the moon is lit while the left-hand side of the moon is still in darkness. So we're getting more brightness and it's starting to almost get to that full moon status. So you're going to open it up a little bit and that kind of stuff. The first quarter moon is also called a half moon, if that makes it easier. You're going to split your circle now on the cover right in half. Just like that. And now we're going to color one side completely dark. And the other side is going to stay light. So we're getting lighter and lighter as we approach the middle of our orbit. Next we have our waxing gibbous phase. So remember, we just talked about it. Waxing means that it's growing, it's increasing in illumination. We're getting brighter and brighter on that moon. And if you want to know what the word gibbous means, it actually means swollen or growing on one side. So now our waxing gibbous is we are pretty much in full light. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. We grew, our shape looks like it's grown, and we're super illuminated. So nearly all of the moon is going to be lit while just a small, tiny sliver of the left side is still in darkness, or in shadow, really. So we're going to take our pencil, and we're going to, if you're tracing it out, if you're not, you can color it however you want. And we are going to carve out just a little sliver just like that. And this is going to be our darkness. So we're getting more and more light, right? Yes. Then we come to about halfway through our orbit. We're on day 15 at this point because it's about a month, so it's about 30 days. And now we have what we all probably know or have heard of at some point. We have our full moon. And what the full moon means is that the entire moon is visible from the Earth's surface. It is completely lit. We can see everything. It is a beautiful circle. And this is a really cool thing. If you've never seen the full moon, I highly recommend going outside and checking it. If you want to know when the next full moon is, Google is a great source. I usually look it up myself because I can't remember. And you'll go outside and it is super bright and it is really beautiful and fun to look at. So now for this one, we don't have to color anything because it's a full moon. The whole thing is light. So we're just going to leave it as is. Or if you're using a color to symbolize light, you can color it whatever that color is going to be. Then once we go from our full moon, we're going to start decreasing that lit side again because now we're going back around the Earth. We're changing our shadows. So we're going to go into a waning gibbous. And now while waxing meant increasing, waning is actually going to mean shrinking. So now we're doing the opposite stuff. We are shrinking our size. So it's a waning gibbous. So we're getting smaller. And that waning gibbous is going to mean that nearly all of the moon is still lit. However, now a small part of the right side is going to be a little dark. So whereas the waxing gibbous had the left side being dark, the waning gibbous is going to have the right side being a little dark. And those shadows are going to come out a little bit more. So you're going to stick those stickers down, fold it over, and I'm going to color just a small little sliver of the right side now that's dark, like that. Then we go into our third quarter moon. This is another half moon, could also be called that. And now what the third quarter moon is going to be is that the left hand of the moon is going to be lit while the right hand side is going to be dark. So it's going to look the same as our half moon up here, but these sides are going to be opposite. So stick those stickers down, close it up, and now we're going to make our half moon. And again, now we're going to do the opposite. So the right hand side is dark and the left hand side is the light. And then our next moon phase is going to be our waning crescent moon. So you can cut that one out. And what a waning crescent moon is now a very small part, of the left-hand side is going to be lit while the rest of the moon is dark. So we're going to color that in. Again, the waning crescent, which means waning, is smaller. It's shrinking. A very small part of the left-hand side is going to be lit while the rest is dark. So we're going to take this, make a little sliver on the left-hand side. Color it in, just like that. And then once we go from the waning crescent, we go all the way back to the new moon, which means the entire thing is black and we start the phases all over again. So now that you have all of your stickers in there, what you're going to do is, you see these lines on the front of the page? You're going to cut those out to make strips. You're just going to cut it to the center of the page, right here, like this. Go all the way down, cutting along all those lines. Stop once the line ends. You're only going to go to the middle of your booklet. And then if you flip back over, it should look like this, all these little tabs. And what this creates is a book that you can use to either track your moon phases, or it's a really good study guide if you're trying to study them. So you can see this moon and start quizzing yourself and go, okay, if the moon looks like this, what's this? All right, well, it looks like it's all lit, so I think it's the full moon. And the full moon means that it is entirely bathed in light. You open it up, and you can see that you're right, because you have the name of the moon, plus what that means for the moon. Now, feel free to keep coloring this, decorating this. Color the letters at the top. Make sure that you write your name on the back, so you know that this belongs to you. It's your moon phases. And have fun with it. Again, it doesn't have to look like this. I hope you have many bright and beautiful colors on here. Make it fun, make it fancy, keep it coloring, and really just work on your moon phases. You can color them in however you want. There's no right or wrong way, as long as they look like this with the different shadings, because that's what's going to be, that's what's going to symbolize your moon phases. So now that we have our phases of the moon chart made, it is time to start making our own phases of the moon using some other items in your grab and go bag. So what I want you to do at home is to find the paper plate for me, find your piece of paper that has the moon cycles on it, and most importantly, find those chocolate sandwich cookies. These are going to be our moons, so these are really important and super tasty. The first step of this experiment is you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut out this circle. Once you have the circle cut, you can put that in front of you. This is going to be where we put our sandwich cookies. Then what I want you to do is open up these and put them on the plate. Then what I want you to do is twist them open. Be really careful with this part, because this is going to be where we get our moon phases. So you're going to open up all those, just twisting them open. Once all of your cookies are opened, we can now use the chart that we made to figure out how we're going to shape these cookies to look like the different phases of the moon. So by starting with the new moon, we know that it's completely dark, completely black. We're going to take one cookie that's got nothing on it. If you've got a little bit of frosting on there, you can either leave it, that's up to you, or if you want it to be perfect, you can take a spoon and scrape some of it off. And you're going to put it down as your new moon phase. Next up, we have our waxing moon, or waxing crescent, as we have it in our book. And we're going to have a small part of the right hand side lit, and the rest of it's going to be dark. So you're going to take your cookie and you're going to pretty much scrape all of the frosting off, either with a spoon or your mouth. You could do whichever one you prefer if you love Oreo frosting. You're going to scrape off just a little bit on that side. Save this frosting because you're going to need it for cookies later. And now you're going to put it down with the right hand side being lit and the rest of it being dark. Next up is going to be our first quarter moon, or our half moon. Oops, my cookie broke. And what you're going to do is you're going to scrape off just half of the frosting. Again, you can either eat it. I don't recommend eating it because we're going to need that frosting later. So if you can, scoop it off, but if you have to eat it, that's fine. And we're going to put it down. Oops. And with our first quarter moon, or the right half of the moon is lit while the left-hand side is dark. Then we go into our waxing gibbous moon, where nearly all of it is lit. So we're just going to scrape off a little bit of the side, just like that. And we're going to put it down here. Then for our full moon, there is no scraping involved. You're going to take the whole cookie which is all lit, and put it down. And now we're gonna make our waning gibbous. So you can use the last cookie that has all of this on the side, and we're just gonna scrape off a little part of it again. And now put it down here. So now the right-hand side is getting dark. Oops, I had this one backwards. The right-hand side is starting to get dark, and the left-hand side is the one that's staying lit. Then we're going to take one of our chocolate cookies, take some of that extra frosting, and we're going to put it as a half moon. This might get a little messy, don't worry. Now half your cookie is lit. The other half isn't. Again, that right side is getting darker, so now the white sides should be pointing to the left. And then lastly, we have our waning crescent. So we're going to just have like a little bit of light on the left-hand side. And the right side is going to be totally dark. And this is what it looks like if you're trying to show someone using some Oreos. Now, the best part of this is once you're done looking at your moon phases and carving them out, again, take your time doing this. I know I did it pretty fast, but take your time. Have family members help you with it if you want. Get more Oreos. You can keep building on it. It's totally up to you. But the best part is when it's done, you could take those moons and eat them. If you are still looking for more science fun, please feel free to check out some of the other handouts that were included in your grab and go bag. We have a Phases of the Moon worksheet if you really want to test yourself and see if you remember where everything goes in the circle. And then there's also a fun fact sheet about Apollo 11. So you can learn a little bit about their journey into space, how long it took them to get there, what date it was on, and all that kind of stuff. So this is just more fun if you want to keep the science learning going. Thank you all so much for joining me for this month's installment of Kitchen Science. I hope you had a sweet, out-of-this-world time with me learning about the phases of the moon. If you have any more questions, want to show off your science experiments, or have some cool moon facts that you want to tell me, please feel free to send me an email at the email address below. I would love to hear from you to know more about what you did at home, to see what you did, or if there's anything else you want to know. On behalf of the South Huntington Public Library, I would just like to say that we miss you all so much. We can't wait to see you soon, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care and have a good one. Bye.